many people who are teaching have used improvisation with students. What I mean by improvisation basically is not the sort of improv you see in comedy clubs, though it can include that, but something a little meatier. Those who were there for the workshop saw a little bit of what we meant when you start putting multiple characters together and scenarios and roles and personas or themes. One of the exercises I remember from 50 years ago. Here is the dialogue you will use with 1 or 2 placeholders. Make up a scenario and act it out in which exactly this dialogue occurs. And some were very emotional, some were very humorous. And it was very interesting. Anybody who wants details on that, I think I'll remember them by the end of the talk. But that's... Okay, now obviously improvisation is a big ingredient in training for theater, for dance, for jazz in its own forms, and it produces a lot of beautiful art. But it has much greater applicability, and certainly, so overview, you can read that as fast as I can. Okay, I'm not claiming it's a new idea. Many or most of you have used it. Many good teachers use it. I even use it. Right? And I'm not claiming... Okay. And certainly it goes back at least 60, 70 years as a teaching technique. It can be enhanced by adding stimuli, by working on voice and movement, by observing other people and trying to incorporate what you see so you can take me and use me as a character next time and get everybody to laugh at you. Proxemics and kinesics, what's that mean? Means, and this is a cultural issue as well, people are very sensitive to where you stand and how you stand in relation to them and how you move. And movement is a very big deal. And particularly when you're dealing with cross-cultural communication, improvisation is a big deal, but you have to be sensitive to a lot of these things. Okay, we've all seen that using improvisation in your classroom will increase student interest, fun, engagement, develops trust, and I think what Russell was just talking about with efficacy, facilitated by comfort, facilitated by reduction of anxiety, you find that with improvisation, with speaking improvisation, you reduce the anxiety level, you increase the communication level, and it may help also in facilitating comfort with writing. Because you increase the trust, you increase the sense of community, you decrease the anxiety, and you increase the willingness to look a little silly on occasion. It can increase communication skills, obviously, collaboration, narration. The more you work on both improvisation, particularly, as I said, from a scenario or from personalities, and on writing, the better you get at being able to tell a story. And I was more or less having this conversation with Rissa that communicate that humor and stories are where the communication occurs. Okay, and you improve the social dynamic in the group. But it's not, and it's of course not a silver bullet. There are many issues, and anyone who wants to can come up and add these later after the session. I'll make a list of 12 pages of things that this won't solve.
Online education is really big. Lots of universities are depending on it now for income. I think a huge challenge is how we can begin to roll some of these kinds of things into the online.
I think you're absolutely right. No, sometimes I suppose it's counter-disciplinary, but or even undisciplined in some cases, but that's good. But my claim is that in addition to the benefits it has for the students, which are many and which many of you know about and practice, there are enormous benefits for the teacher. Some of which I exhibit and some of which I wish I remembered. Okay, it increases adaptability. The more that you're in a scenario where you're expected to react to things that your partners do or things, as in the workshop, that come from a prompt unexpectedly, the more you'll feel comfortable in adapting your own situation, your own lesson, to the sense of the class, to unexpected sounds. One thing I definitely learned is when to shut up, because the noise outside is too great. I'm not going to talk over a subway. It's bigger than I am. Just stay quiet, wait it out. Okay, it encourages you to think of multiple ways to present things, and adapting and moving from one to the other is necessary. I've had students simulate technical concepts in mathematics. One of the hardest things to get across is the composition of functions. Okay, you be the squaring function. You be the function that adds 2. You be the function that doubles. And we can just keep exchanging roles. Start with a number. I give you 5. You're squaring. You're squaring. You're adding 2. And you're doubling. 54, right? And then I can have you square and then square. I can partner a square function with its inverse. And it really gets across the lessons that you're not commutative. You can apply things to yourself. And so on, in a way that sitting down and doing paper exercises just doesn't get across. Now, I'll try the paper exercises first, but if that doesn't work, I'm going to try this. Okay. A key point about improvisation, especially if enhanced with some lessons on using the voice, physical presence. Don't upstage yourself. Don't be upstaged by something else. Don't talk in a monotone unless you can't avoid it. Feel free to move unless you're holding a microphone. I guess I can still move. Feel free to use vocal dynamics, body movement. Okay, I think it aids in the flipped classroom. Combines, as I said, you can read some of this. It aids in changing phase. Sometimes you want to take the class back. Sometimes you don't know when you should take the class back. Again, if you were in our workshop, the exercises went very well. If they hadn't been going so well, we might have pulled back for a moment, talked about something, asked some questions, and then kept going. Okay. I think it gives you a better sense of distributing voice and responsibility without calling on people explicitly. It also makes it more natural to think about groups. Obviously, the teacher gets improved confidence. Is more ready to collaborate. One hopes better communication skills. And I really think it gives the teacher a little bit of a potential of the sense of fun, insight, growth, engagement. It's definitely a partial remedy against burning out.
I don't think it's just for you about burnout. I think it's burnout for the students too.
Yes.
A lot of students, especially women, are set up for failure with, oh, I have math anxiety, and it begins there, and can't learn math. You know what, if you approach it from this perspective and you take away that anxiety, it gets out of their head and they've got room to let the good stuff in. So they can.
And if you can mix the verbal with the written, with the conceptual, with the detail, and you can explain things in multiple ways, you can both be patient, you can time things according to how the class is going instead of how you planned. Now, all of you, or most of you, have acquired some of these skills as you've gone along. Okay, let's see, do I have? So, next thing I guess I say, beyond the classroom, lifelong benefits. I'm not in a class here, although pretty close. But, you know, it lets you have more fun. Lets you learn about things more easily. Lets you form teams much more readily. Lets you take the lead sometimes and shut up sometimes. Always good things. Though I find it hard to do the latter, I admit. Okay. Role-playing can be used to enhance case studies, learning management and team skills, dealing with the requirements and risk elicitation, being able to take a role. Again, we were thinking of doing this too. We just wish we had a 2-day workshop. You know, you are going to be the salesman. You are going to be the customer. You think more about what the requirements are. And not only that, you're going to be a customer with arthritis who hasn't eaten. And you are going to be a salesman whose quota is getting short this month. You need to make up some stuff. What have you been doing, Jennifer? Right. Yeah, management activities, obviously control versus coordinate. Know when to switch based on the sense of the group, based on the nature of the task, based on the scenario, not the details. And be able to govern flexibly, basically. Sense morale and efficiency. Know when to break for a morale building or a relaxation. Everybody get up and walk around, right?
Low-age teaching.
You use the word elicitation, performance elicitation, instead of solicitation. Is that purposeful?
I think, well, it's the term that is sometimes used, at least I've seen in software engineering texts, but trying to find out information from experts.
So bi-directional
Yeah.
agreement on those.
And one of the problems is they found out in artificial intelligence years ago, experts don't know what they're talking. They know what they're doing, they don't know what they're talking about. They find it very hard to externalize tacit processes. Okay, implicit processes. Okay, and interview skills, both comfort and skill. Okay, and obvious, lots of applications. My own experience, as I said, I was in a teen theater group for 6 years. I've used it in my own teaching. I've used it in creating communities, getting together with other researchers from diverse backgrounds and coming up with useful things, talking to people at conferences like this. Okay? And plenty of my colleagues who like this paper have done the same. And I'm going to have 2 recommendations. The first recommendation is, let's get somebody to change the teacher education programs. Let's actually put some theater into those programs. Let's actually get people to get up there and react. And let's make some of the scenarios not teaching scenarios. Partly to learn about what you're teaching or the wider world, partly just to get more comfortable with the task. And in teaching, Don't just isolate improvisation. Combine it as appropriate in your level and your discipline with critical thinking, with exploration, with communication skills, with team development, and with taking a break once in a while. Okay. And I'd like to thank Rosalind Wilder, Gilbert Rathbun, and my mother, Elaine K. Marlowe, who were among the people who taught me improvisation. Rosalind was a leader in the improvisation movement from about the 50s through the 70s, especially for both teens and seniors. And you can still find some of her writing, I think. It's a citation to a University of Arizona archive in the bibliography. And a number of my colleagues, including my brother from various institutions, most of them are either colleagues in various groups or research associates. And it was as much fun writing this paper as it has been delivering what I've done at the conference. Any other questions?